Hello, 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 hello. We are currently live on YouTube with me, Jojen997, everyone's favorite Minecrafter in the world. Definitely, that's how that works, right? Hang on a second while I configure stream. I have not yet gone on to the process of telling everyone that I am making a stream. So, allow me quickly to go around, share the link, all the usual places. You know how it is. Yeah, sometimes with business you gotta promote the hashtag algorithms. Excuse me for a second, this is gonna take a minute. Hang on a second. Sorry, we are trying to share these links in all places. So if you are showing up for the stream right now, welcome. It's good to have you. I'm terribly sorry I can't devote complete and total attention at this exact second, but I am currently telling everyone what I am doing, which I think is an important part of the streaming process. I like when people come to show up to the streams. So allow me quickly to distribute my links, all the usual places. In the meantime, how are you? Let me know in chat. I'd love to know how y'all doing tonight. Lovely night for this stuff. Gotta get the tumbles. Howdy, Ace. How you doing? Good to hear. Can you hear me, by the way? Oh, good. You can hear me. Oh, there's a Viking lore stream tonight. Oh, I forgot about that. That's gonna. Yeah, that should probably account for that. What time is it? Hang on, I'm trying to get to this YouTuber studio. Can't see chat right now because I am trying to get studio up. Hang on. Okay, I have it up. Okay, what time is Vikings lore stream? Oh, it starts at 8. Okay, good. We have a bit of time. Yeah, probably gonna run into it. So if that's the case, I won't waste your time too much. We are currently trying to make this look more natural. This is what I was carving out off camera. Over here is what I am trying to carve out on camera, is trying to make this wall look human and like a thing that people use. Also, in honor of Star Trek Prodigy, I have spent the last couple hours researching the episodes because it's been a while since I've seen the show. I wanted to make sure all the details were fresh in my head, so I can let everyone know what happens in Star Trek Prodigy because everyone is going to miss that show, especially me. So if you don't know what Star Trek Prodigy is, and I don't know, Ace, what your familiarity with Star Trek is, so stop me if you heard this before. But Star Trek Prodigy. Star Trek Prodigy is part of the Star Trek uh, expansion that's going on slash ending on Paramount Plus. I say ending because 3 of the shows have been canceled in the past few months. But basically, the premise of Prodigy. So sorry, premise of most Star Trek shows is that in the 23rd and 4th and now 5th centuries, humanity has gone to space successfully, interacted with other alien races, and now we have a United Federation of Planets. So most Star Trek shows are set within the Federation and involve some Federation ship going about doing Federation work from the perspective of the humans. Prodigy takes the interesting approach of being the opposite, of being about a bunch of aliens who've never heard of Earth or the Federation. It's set in the Delta Quadrant, which is where Star Trek Voyager, one of my favorite Star Trek shows, was set. and it follows a crew of kids who are basically escapees from a slave colony as they try to find their way to Starfleet and the Federation. There are six main characters, all from obviously from this colony, the slave colony. Our main character, our protagonist, is named Dalrel. Dal is a guy of unknown species. Basically, he looks like a purple human with a head tail thing, kind of like Avatar, the Cameron one, not the good one. But yeah, he's that. No one knows what species he is, but he has a bunch of different abilities and genetic codes from different species, so people aren't sure what to make of him. There's there's the rock creature whose name is Rock Talk. Yeah, sorry, I had to check my notes for that one. I forgot that the second half name was Talk. They just call her Rock usually. Who is a Brickar, who is an alien that kind of looks like the Thing from Fantastic Four, but her deal is that she is much smarter and does not want to be the muscle of the team. She's there. There's the Tellarite Jankum or there's Jankum who is a Tellarite. Tellarites are a species that I were in Star Trek before. I think I should have double checked that part, but basically basically they are weird alien guys. I don't know a better way to describe him than like he's orange, but he's the ship's mechanic. He's like if you had to put Rocket Raccoon on a kids show. There's let's see who I forget. Zero, who is a gaseous cloud shoved into shoved into a exosuit because they can't function without it. Is it she? Sorry, I meant they. Yeah. They don't have gender. Their species does not have gender, but importantly, gaseous cloud in a little container. They're great. Love them. There's who am I forgetting? There's Gwyn, who is the daughter of the slave master, who escapes with them when she realizes that her father does not love her because he is a slave master, and she can speak basically every language of the universe because that's a thing you can do in Star Trek. Ooh, he's got thunder. Nice. And she starts off as the evil teammate, but then quickly becomes not evil when she realizes her father does not love her because he is a slave. And the final crew member is Murph, who is a little ball of goo and basically acts like a puppy for the first half of the show. According to the show's creators, they did want it to basically be like a cute dog in space. Hey, Bo. Glad to have you here. We are currently talking about Star Trek Prodigy, a show that Paramount Plus is trying to erase from existence. Welcome to the stream. So I have here the notes for the first 10 episodes of Star Trek Prodigy. It is a 20-episode show, but the way they decided to air it first on Paramount was Paramount. So between Paramount and Nickelodeon, they had a 20-episode run, but they basically dropped the first 5 on Paramount Plus, then stopped to air Star Trek Discovery Season 4, which is pretty good in my opinion, but Discovery Season 4, and then they had another 5 episodes, and then they stopped to air Picard and Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds, which were very good shows, but they interrupted Prodigy again after 5 more episodes. And then the last 10 episodes aired in December, January. So that is the story of how Star Trek Prodigy was aired. And because of this very uneven release schedule, the first 10 episodes are available on a DVD now, and the last 10 episodes are currently lost media, which is amazing because, again, the show finished airing in January. I love this era of content. So yeah, so the plot of the first 10 episodes I've collected here in order to explain. So like I said, Prodigy starts on a slave colony called Tars Lamora, which is run by this guy called the Diviner. We don't know what his deal is. He's just called the Diviner, and he has slaves, and they're mining for something. So as they're mining for something, we're introduced to our protagonist, Dalrel, and Dal is struggling to escape. He tries taking an elevator, but gets caught by Gwyn, who is the only person in the colony who can speak to him because to avoid slave uprisings, the Diviner has not given anyone a translator. But Gwyn can speak every language because she's curious like that, and so everyone can communicate through Gwyn. So he's stopped by Gwyn, who is friendly to him, but is also like the daughter of the guy that's keeping him as a slave. So like, there's a bit of tension there, as one can imagine. So they're talking, and then meanwhile, there's a new visitor to the colony, and there's a new visitor colony, and they're looking for a particular prisoner called Fugitive Zero. And Gwen makes an offer to Dahl because they're friends, saying, "Hey, if you find me Fugitive Zero, I will get you out of here." So Dahl goes hunting. He leaves the cave he's supposed to be working in, and instead goes looking. He gets joined by Rock, who can't speak at this point. This looks like this giant rock dude, and because of this, Dahl assumes that she's just a giant rock dude that he could use for fighting things because he can't fight because he's a little human guy. So eventually when they're out hunting, they stumble across a crashed starship. So they go inside this crashed starship and find out it's called the Protostar. They hit some buttons. The ship turns on. They can start talking. Dahl finds out that Rock is canonically a 6-year-old child, and then they decide that they're going to escape. So Fugitive Zero shows up on the ship. It turns out it's Zero, who is Zero, the alien. And they explain that they have a gas cloud in them that the Diviner wants, so they're gonna escape. As they look at the ship, they realize they need an engineer to get them to get them flying again. So they go back, they find Jank and Pog, and then they all decide to go escape. As soon as they get on the ship, turn it on again. This time, they activate a hologram. Turns out the ship was a training ship for Starfleet, and the hologram is a woman by the name of Captain Catherine Janeway. If you don't know Janeway, she's from Star Trek Voyager. She was the captain on that show. One of the best characters in Star Trek, I think, even if she makes some very poor decisions. At some point, I will be recapping Voyager episodes. And she has made many decisions in those that I think people have problems with. But she's cool. Point is, Janeway's cool enough for this. So Dahl, seeing this, tells Janeway that they are Starfleet cadets and that they need to get back to the Federation. And so Janeway decides, yeah, this checks out, and then agrees to help them steal the ship. Gwyn shows up. There's a whole dramatic fight scene where she pulls a sword on them, and they take her prisoner semi-accidentally, and they all jump in the starship and fly away. But as they're leaving, guess who they find in the vents of the ship? Murph, the little goo guy. And so the episode ends with Janeway introducing herself to the crew properly, and they get started. Next episode, they figure out what the deal is. Janeway explains what Starfleet is in the Federation and how this is going to work. Everyone else is really excited about this whole Federation thing. Like, hey, there's a civilization of all these aliens from around the universe that all get along. And Dahl says, they're probably evil. Okay, Ace is getting food, so we're going to hold off for a second. In the meantime, Bill, are you still there? How you doing? It's making sense so far. I feel like I'm talking fast and also probably missing things. even though I have notes in front of me, so just want to make sure everything's okay there. I am digging out an ancient city. I started doing this when 1.20 dropped, with the idea being I dig it up by hand. I give myself full netherite tools, dug it out, and now I am trying to restore it and blend it into the natural surroundings. So if you look here, like this building, I've completely reconstructed it. I lit the fire and everything. My personal favorite is this watchtower over here that I built. I'm still figuring out some of the kinks. Like I've been replacing this with mud bricks because I feel like that's how that's supposed to work. I don't know what to do about this part, but generally the vibe we're going for is reconstruction. Oh, speaking of, thanks for reminding me. I feel like that line wasn't supposed to be there. I don't know what you're talking about. How could you even say such a thing? That doesn't remotely look like it. Like, how could you even begin to think that's what's happening here? It's just two orbs next to a very long shaft. God, no, I can't unsee it. Now I can't unsee it, and I'm wondering how that made it past Mojang. Because I seriously doubt they would have let that happen if they realized. How is that etho core? Does etho regularly build penises? No, no. My bigger question at this point that is the etho core. Like, I wasn't aware this was a thing that etho struggled with. No, I have not seen. I have not seen it. I've only watched a couple episodes of this. I've only watched a couple episodes of Etho single player. So if that's a thing from that, although honestly with gold farms, like you don't have much of a choice. It has to be a giant tower. So like I don't really blame him there, but I don't know. Also feels like a very Etho thing to have happen. Speaking of, did you just say something about his microphone setup being even worse than we thought it was? Yeah, I'm remembering now. He said on Tumblr that his computer died, or that his computer dies during recording about once every 30 minutes. And I'm feeling very superior right now because at least my microphone is on a boom. Although, fun fact, when I was streaming from home a few weeks ago, I did have to set it up in a tissue box, and I felt like I was honoring my Minecraft heritage. Oh, he's not admitting it? I love that. God. Etho's great. The man has done so much for the Minecraft world. Gotta respect Etho's slab. He's allowed a little bit of penis reference if he feels like it, as a treat. Yeah, let's go with that. Ooh, I like that blend. Okay. So my problem with that is that one was before I started really trying to work with contours, and I don't know how to fix it. So, Bo, I should ask while I'm not doing Star Trek talk. How much familiarity do you have with Protostar, like, or sorry, Prodigy? So, like, how much am I going to have to explain about Star Trek lore in general? Okay, so you have mutuals. So you definitely know that Kirk and Spock are gay. That's the only thing I've seen people talk about on Tumblr. And like, yeah, sure, that's a valid ship to have. That's a valid opinion. We owe everything to the Kirk and Spock ship, but at the same time, the 24th century material is much gayer. Hey, Ace, welcome back. Okay. Yeah, don't worry. I have notes on the first 10 episodes. We're on episode 3 already, so I'm just gonna go back into those. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah, so yeah, they want to go to the Federation. So the rest of the crew, sorry, starting off this episode again, the ship is are the ship is escaping what was the planet called? Tars Lamora. Yeah, so the ship's escaping Tars Lamora, and Janeway is trying to explain how Starfleet works to this crew of children who have never heard of it before, but are pretending that they do know what it is. And it is very strange and a subject of a lot of fan discourse that this hologram that's supposed to be a perfect recreation of Captain Janeway, who led her ship through one of the worst situations any starship has undergone in basically the history of human spaceflight. Like they got stranded on the far side of the universe for 7 years, and she had to negotiate with hundreds of alien races to get them home. She doesn't figure out that these kids are very obviously not actually Starfleet cadets. The most popular theory is that because it's a training program, she's not really as smart as the actual Janeway, and that's the theory I tend to go with because it's the easiest explanation. It makes the most sense for why she's not calling them out on it, but it becomes a plot point later. Anyway, she's explaining it to these kids, and they're getting used to the ship and seeing all the cool things that humans have developed in the hundreds of years they've had space flight, and a centralized government that cares about people and doesn't charge for healthcare. And where's that? Right. Oh, and anyway, Dahl has decided he's the captain of the ship because obviously he is. I mean, just why not? And he gets upset with Janeway for trying to do things like explain how the ship works. So to prove that he is not anyone's puppet, he takes the ship in the exact opposite direction that Janeway says the Federation is, because he definitely knows how to navigate a starship. And they end up crashing into binary stars. One of the stars is a white dwarf, one of them's a red giant. They're about to crush each other. The ship's stuck between them, and the only way out is for Dahl to ask for help and not be a complete moron. While this is happening, the ship power momentarily fails because Dahl is really bad at this, and Gwyn, es- Gwyn escapes from the brig, and so Dahl sends Rock to hunt her down because Rock is the big rock guy. Rock is really bad at this, but does manage to contain Gwyn, and they save the ship. And learn valuable lessons about humility along the way. That's episode 3. Episode 4, the ship's still flying and still trying to figure out its general direction when they pass a potentially habitable planet. Janeway points out to them that, hey, Starfleet rules say if you find a potentially colonizable planet with no sentient life on it, we need to check it out. So, reluctantly, they have to go explore an alien planet now. And they're all annoyed about this, but then as soon as they step on the planet, it's awesome because it's an alien planet. And they immediately run off and just go wild. And they all find things that are really cool and interesting to them. Like, Rock finds a cute animal to play with. Pog finds some craft spaceships. Doll finds some people who might or may not be his parents. It's all very fun. And then they realize, no, they haven't. This entire thing is just a telepathic death trap created by evil psychic vines. And this is why I love Star Trek, because evil psychic vines. So while they're stuck there and suffering under the evil psychic vines that are trying to trap them there, they have a realization that Gwen escapes, and Gwen momentarily takes over the ship, and also hacks Janeway, so that Janeway now works for her and recognizes her as the captain. So she's taken over Janeway, taken over the ship, and she starts to escape. But then she's bad at flying a spaceship, so it crashes, and she and everyone else are now stuck on the Psychic Vine murder planet. And so that's the end of episode 4. It's two-parter. Episode 5 starts with episode 5, by the way, has the great name of Terra Firma, which I forgot about till I was doing research for this. But anyway, the ship has crashed a few kilometers away because they use the metric system in Star Trek because it's an idealized future where we figured out how to use the metric system. All right. Yeah, so they have to walk a few kilometers. They have a bonding moment with Gwen where they realize maybe she's not so bad, and she decides that she really does hate her father and does want to help them escape because, again, her father owned slaves. So Gwen figures this out and decides, hey, she can work with the crew. It's fine, probably. And so they find the ship, but as they are, the Divider comes back, and he tries to kill them. And so Gwen offers herself up in exchange for letting them go. But the Diviner decides he'd rather have the ship and starts firing on them. So now they realize that Gwen is really part of their team because her father wants to kill her, which is generally bad, I've been told. So they figure out while they're digging around, they figure out why the ship is called the Protostar at this point. Hey, Zels, talking about Star Trek. So they figure out why the ship is called the Protostar. It's because there's a special engine in the ship called the Protostar Drive, or the Protodrive, or the Proto-Warp Drive, or whatever. I call it the Protostar engine. Point is, they figure out there's a special engine in the ship that lets them go really fast. And so they use that to get away, and they escape to a completely different corner of the galaxy. And that's the end of episode 5. Now, as I said, this is when Star Trek Prodigy paused airing on Paramount Plus to allow for other Star Trek shows to air. And we got Star Trek Discovery Season 4 at this point, which is also fun, but is not the subject of this video. Not the subject of this, and is not currently being purged from existence, so we don't need to talk about it as much right now. It has been canceled quietly, though, in the past few days, so that's upsetting, too. Basically, it's a bad time to Star Trek. But that's not the point of this. Point of this is, yeah, they escape with the engine on the edge of the galaxy. Show comes back from a break with what I think is probably one of the best episodes. It's one of my 2 favorites, at least. It's called Kobayashi. So in Star Trek, there's a thing that most Starfleet members have done at some point called the Kobayashi Maru. It's basically a test that they have everyone go through as they're entering Starfleet, where they have to where they get put in an unwinnable scenario. Generally, the way it goes is you are placed in charge of a ship, and you're placed in charge of a ship, and you're on the border of Federation territory with someone who the Federation is currently fighting with. Depends who it is. Sometimes it's the Klingons, sometimes it's the Romulans, sometimes it's arbitrary bad guy aliens. But the point is, you're placed in charge of a ship on the border of hostile territory, and you get a call from a freighter that is actively on fire and needs to be rescued, and you're the only one who can. And you have to make the call of if you take your ship into enemy territory, endanger your crew for them. If you do, they start a fight. You have to figure out how to fight or negotiate your way out, or if you run away, you have to live with them dying and your crew protests. But generally, it's designed to be an unwinnable scenario, and it's designed to test officers to see how they react when there are no good options. That's the point of it. Basically, every main character in Star Trek has taken this and has an interesting reaction to it. The one that people generally talk about or know the most is Captain Kirk from the original series. In the original timeline, the day before the test, he snuck in and hacked the simulator to make it winnable, and he got points for original thinking. They changed that in the Abrams movies to be that he slept with someone who was monitoring the simulator to get in, and that's not as fun, at least to me, but it's an option. Point is, the idea of the Kobayashi Maru is to see what happens when there's no way you can make a good choice. So this episode is called Kobayashi because it's about that. So Dahl, who still thinks he's the captain of this ship, even though he just escaped from the colony and doesn't know anything about space, discovers that the ship has fun sales. Discovers that the ship has a function or that allows him to take the test as a practice. So he does, and it goes horribly wrong because again, there is literally no way to pass this unless you hack the thing. But he takes it personally and decides to grind on the simulator until he gets it to work. Sorry, I used the wrong word. Grind like gamer grind, not like whatever. Point is, he refuses to leave the holodeck until he gets this right. So while this is happening, everyone else is bonding in the background and connecting as a crew because good times. Unfortunate misses. Anyway, he decides to keep spamming the simulator until he gets this right, and he does, and he doesn't. He can't because he can't win. But at a certain point, because everyone else has kind of given up on this because they figured out you can't win, he spawns in a holographic crew of dead Star Trek actors, and they all appear through archived voice lines, and it's a little creepy. And funnily enough, one of the two people who is not dead that's in this is Nichelle Nichols, who plays Uhura from the original series. Nichelle Nichols died between when this episode was animated and when this episode was released, so it's even weirder that she's on this crew of dead Star Trek characters. The only one alive is Beverly Crusher from Next Generation, who is alive and still acting and actually just came back for Picard. But she's in this. She's in this because they realized they needed somebody to say actually like direct lines addressed to characters. But they added her to the crew for that. Anyway, eventually, Dahl, after 100 odd attempts, I forget exactly how many they say it was, but we see a few of them. He figures out how to win by spamming every weapon and blowing up every part of the ship he can at once to kill all the enemy freighters or kill all the enemy ships, then teleports onto the bridge and starts shooting everyone like that scene in Kingsman. But he technically wins the Kobayashi Maru. However, because again, you cannot possibly win this thing, the ship immediately blows up. And then he has a freak out, and then Spock's hologram tells him that he's still a good captain because he clearly cares and is trying his best. And he takes that to heart. And then he asks the ship if there's any way to win, and the ship says, "No, you can't win this. That's how this works." So that's how that ends. But he still learns to listen to his crew and like be a little more respectful as a person. And I think it's a good episode because it does get into him trying his best, and it is the closest someone comes to legitimately winning the Kobayashi Maru, and he does it by spamming the game. Like exactly the way that people think that they would do it. It's a lot of fun. It's my second favorite episode of the show. My first favorite is episode 12, which we're not getting into today because this is the first 10. So episode 7 is another doll episode where they are traveling, they're traveling through space again. Oh wait, sorry. Forgot the cliffhanger on episode 6. Apparently, I forgot about this part. Is that they reveal that the Protostar's first captain was this guy named Chakotay. Chakotay was a character from Star Trek Voyager, who was the first officer to Captain Janeway, and he's a great character. He's a lot of fun. He fell in with a breakaway group from the Federation. There was a dispute over how to deal with this tribe of really bad fascist aliens living next door, and his group wanted to be more active against them. During Voyager, actually, the reason that they're trapped in the far reaches of space is because his ship got sucked into a wormhole, and the Federation ship was trying to save him. Anyway, Chakotay's cool. However, his actor Robert Beltran is decidedly not. Robert Beltran, in the past couple of years, has decided to tell everyone that he does believe in freedom from oppression, the oppression of vaccines, and he's made that a thing. So that's fun. There was a joke for a while between when we thought there was going to be a season 2, because they said there was, that they were going to quietly kill off his character between seasons just to not have to deal with him again. But nah, it's never going to get resolved. But yeah, Chakotay as a character is cool though. So it's revealed that Chakotay used to be the captain of the Protostar before it crashed, and so there's a mystery of what happened to him. And Janeway, who is really close with Chakotay and possibly in a relationship with him, depending on who you ask, is not happy about this. Janeway also realizes at this point she can't remember what the ship was supposed to be for, because someone wiped her program's memory. Checking on episode 7 now. Okay, episode 7. Oh yeah, this was on. So wait, no, I skipped. Sorry, episode 7 was not that one. That's episode 1. Episode 7 is the Protostar is still flying through this uncharted part of space that they don't know about, and they run into another ship operated by a Ferengi. The Ferengi are based in Star Trek. They're little capitalist gremlins, basically. They have like big orange faces and massive ears, and they're one of the few species in Star Trek that like still uses money in this utopian future. They're awesome. There's a great episode of Deep Space Nine called Bar Association where a Ferengi tries to unionize, and they're the union busters, and it's so fun. Called Bar Association. I recommend it. Uh, anyway, they run into a Ferengi ship, and they discover that the ship is operated by this woman named Dama Nandi, who used to take care of Dahl before he got captured by the slavers. And so Nandi offers them a cloaking device, which Federation ships generally don't have, in exchange for some crystals on this nearby planet. So the crew agrees to get her crystals. Unfortunately, they go down and they find out the crystals are alive. And the reason she wants them is because they're alive and she can't really get them without doing stuff that's illegal. So they fight her about the crystals. And then they decide they're good people and they don't want to do this. And Nanti tells Doll, "Hey, Hey, I sold you. You weren't kidnapped." And then Doll realizes how much she sucks, and they decide to leave. However, Nanti's upset she didn't get her crystals, so she calls the provider, or sorry, the diviner. She calls the diviner on them. That's episode 7. Episode 8 is a weird time episode, which I like. But basically, they're messing with the ship. They've um, they fly into a tachyon storm because sci-fi, and it's and the ship loses control and almost blows up, and time breaks down. So each of the characters is stuck in a different time stream where they're all moving towards the same moment, but at different speeds. Some of them much faster than others. Apparently, it's on an inverted sine. Sorry, it's on a compressed sine wave that expands as it moves outwards, which they actually did model for the episode to figure out how far it would go, and they have the graph somewhere. It's apparently in the episode on one of the computer screens, which you can't check because again, no one's able to watch Star Trek Prodigy right now, unless you have the DVD of the first 10 episodes. So yeah, they have to figure out the time mechanics, and the episode's about all of them working at different speeds on how to work together and trusting each other even though they can't see each other. The only person that can communicate between them all is Janeway. They do some cool things with it, like Jank and Pod gets blown up first, then they have Doll build a device that's supposed to stabilize the engine to keep it from exploding. But he finishes it, and then Gwen has to deal with it. But Gwen gets stuck because her father manages to 3D print a evil killer robot onto the ship to attack her, and she has to blow the airlock to get rid of it, and she destroys the machine, which means the only person who can save them all is Rock. And Rock has the most time of anyone, so she spends however many years it is learning science. And so now she's an expert at quantum physics and uses that to reconstruct everything and realizes she wants to be a scientist now, which is fun for her. It's a fun arc, and it's great to see them do that with the character. Remember, she is canonically 6 years old, and she knows quantum physics. So yeah, she saves the ship. They're fine. They all get along great. That's episode 6. That's episode 8. Yeah. Episodes 9 and 10 are the finale. It's a two-parter. It's a bit of a mess. Just from a storytelling perspective, but basically the gist is the diviner calls them and says, "Hey, I have all these other slaves, and I will kill them if you don't come back here." So they decide that now that they're Starfleet officers, that they're going to go save everyone. So they go in with a great plan. The plan involves them showing up, surrendering immediately. Gwen gets captured by her father again, who takes her onto the protostar, and they take over the ship, and they ostensibly kill Janeway. They reprogram Janeway to force her to serve evil. And then it's revealed that no, this is all a plan because Diviner tries to blow up everyone else, but they're all fine. Janeway was actually reprogrammed successfully by Gwyn after Gwyn tried the exact same trick. To, Janeway reprograms. Janeway's safe. She's still good. They get the ship back. They kick the Diviner off, but then the Diviner and Gwyn are fighting, and the Diviner says, "You know why I'm doing this, right?" and then he explains his backstory. So his tragic backstory is that he was that he's from a civilization 50 years in the future, from a planet called Solum, where they're going to get first contacted by the Federation. First contact is how the Starfleet introduces themselves to new aliens. They have a whole set of procedures to make sure it doesn't go horribly wrong. But basically, Solum's going to get first contacted in a few years, and when it does, the planet's going to be split between people who want to join the Galactic Federation, people who don't, and they fall into civil war. And so because they destroy themselves in civil war, and the whole planet's dead except Solum. So Solum has gone back in time to destroy the Federation, and he has this elaborate plan to do it, where he's going to use the Protostar because it's a missing ship. He's going to have it returned to Starfleet, but when it gets back, it's going to be rigged to insert a virus to every computer in Starfleet that turns off their translators, causing no one to be able to communicate, and then force them all to kill each other by taking over the ship's weapons, have them all fire on each other, and then also it's a bomb that's going to explode, and it's also sentient. There are a lot of steps to this plan. But he says he's going to pull this off using the Protostar, and then Zero and Del come in to save Gwyn, and they're successful, but the way they get away is that Zero has to unveil their true form, which is the reason that Zero is in a robot suit in the first place, because their true form is so terrible to look at. So they activate their true form, and it basically fries the provider's brain. Sorry, the diviner's brain. And also, Gwyn sees it for like half a second, but that's enough to cause her to forget his evil plan. So the first half of the season ends with the crew of the Protostar looking at their stuff and saying, "We did a good job. Let's go to Starfleet now." And then it ends with that menacing threat of what's coming next. And the stinger is, the real Captain Janeway now has her own ship, and she is taking it to go find Chakotay. And that is how they left it, so they could go do Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks. And that's the first half of Star Trek Prodigy. Any questions? I think I did my job then. Yeah. I've successfully explained a show that you can no longer watch. Good. Good. I'm glad I explained it efficiently. But yeah, people are understandably annoyed that this show, which got confirmed for season 2, by the way. They almost finished making season 2. This is a Batgirl situation where they're almost done, and then they pulled it for tax write-offs. Figured out this cool thing you can do, by the way, on computers with a mouse, where you can click both the left and right buttons at the same time to break and place a block in the same instant. It's really cool. I guess it is kind of like watching an ant. Look, this is a dedicated remodeling stream. This is a dedicated modeling stream. We play Minecraft professionally here. Could be worse. There's that meme going around right now about everyone watching Philza for the first time and realizing like 90% of his work on his hardcore world is placing sand. I do like this kind of stream though, where I can build and talk because it does allow me to talk about other things, and I enjoy sharing things. And I've done this for the past few streams now, where I've spent the bulk of the stream dedicatedly recapping something I'm interested in while building this out. But yeah, I shifted the plans for this stream. I was gonna recap Flashpoint, which is a comic that came out when I was getting into comics. I was gonna recap that the stream, but then I found out about Prodigy, and they literally pulled it yesterday, and I'm really angry about it, and I feel like people deserve to hear about Prodigy and why this is bad. It kind of is the Joji podcast. We watched Ren Dog's past few episodes. It's kind of like that for me, at least. Bit therapeutic. Speaking of, I actually did just move. Uh, yeah. So I have a conspiracy theory about the Prodigy thing, which I can't back up, but the timing works out perfectly. Oh, bye, Bo. Thanks for coming by. I'll tell you about my theory later if you're interested. But yeah, my conspiracy theory about Star Trek Prodigy and the cancellation is that they found the perfect window to quietly unannounce season 2 and do this poll. Because right now, Star Trek Strange New Worlds is airing. The way that Paramount's been doing Star Trek is generally they have one show going at a time, they switch it out at the end of the season. So right now it's Strange New Worlds' turn. And Strange New Worlds is kind of, if it's arguably the best of modern Star Trek. I personally think it is. It's the one that got me to be a committed fan of the franchise. It's a lot of fun. It captures the spirit of what Star Trek should be, of just Federation people going out and doing the right thing in space. But yeah. But yeah, that's the it's currently airing. And Strange New Worlds just did a great episode last Thursday. They did a great episode last Thursday. Probably one of the best Star Trek episodes of all time. I can do a whole separate stream about that. I probably will at some point, but we're gonna give up Prodigy right now, so we're not going to do that. Point is, one of the best episodes of all time, and people are really excited about that because it's a really really good episode. But that happens. The next day, they announce they're canceling Prodigy unceremoniously, and they're wiping it 3 days later. This means that everyone except the most committed Star Trek fans who are watching all the shows is currently talking about Strange New Worlds and how awesome it is. So none of the casuals care enough to talk about it. The writer strike's going on, so the staff's too busy to protest. And what are they going to do to escalate? They are already striking. And Reddit's down. I haven't checked if r/Star Trek is part of the shutdown, but given that Reddit's functionally unusable right now, the community can't organize. And McDonald's just proved that you can buy out fandom. I bring that up because fandom bought Memory Alpha, which is the Star Trek wiki, which is the best wiki out there. It was self-maintained for over a decade before fandom.com came up and bought it. But if you don't know, McDonald's basically paid fandom to give them control of the McDonald's wiki for a day to do a promotional thing for Grimace. They're all the same to me. Weird little guys. Point is, we've just systematically proven that fandom will not support this kind of thing. So it's the perfect time for Paramount to strike and take out a show with minimal opposition and erase it from existence, which I find immensely frustrating. Now, word from the crew, and that's my conspiracy theory is that my conspiracy theory is that they pulled the trigger on it because they had the window to. I can't prove that. Just so we're clear, I cannot prove that this is a conspiracy. What I can prove is the cast and crew, or the cast and crew, come out and said that they're almost done with season 2. And Paramount has said that they are willing to sell it to other streamers. So I hope somebody picks it up because it's a good show, and at the very least, it deserves to get the finale that it has already made. But yeah, that's Star Trek Prodigy. I'm very upset that they canceled it. There's a Nintendo Switch game that I wasn't planning on playing. I'm waiting for it to go on sale. It's not really my kind of game normally. It is aimed at kids because Prodigy is was designed for Nickelodeon originally, and it actually the first half of it did air on Nickelodeon also before they moved exclusively to Paramount Plus because Paramount Plus is the permanent home of Star Trek now. But yeah, there's a game. It's designed to be a kids show. It's supposed to get kids into Star Trek. It's a good gateway drug. People have described it as a good gateway, and I think it works as that. They explain the Federation pretty well. It's very good about showing how Federation morals work for kids in a way that's productive and useful for society. The queer rep, everything you like in Star Trek. But yeah, that's my Prodigy rant. I am very upset. I think Prodigy deserves season 2. Mostly, I also really want to see how they deal with Chakotay. Oh yeah, that's another reason people are upset about Prodigy, by the way, is because the Janeway and Chakotay stuff is the closest thing we've gotten to follow up on Star Trek Voyager. And Star Trek Voyager is a very disappointingly ended show. I guess spoiler for Voyager, they make it home, which I mean, you'd expect that it's the season finale of the show. Yeah, spoiler for Voyager, they make it home, but the show ends immediately as they approach Earth. Like they see Earth. The last shot is Voyager approaching the planet to dock. So it was very unfinished, and people have very much wanted follow-ups to it. There have been books and stuff, but this is the first time the actors have had a chance to do something with those characters since the show ended. And so we were very excited for follow-up. And the closest we were getting was this show, which was going to have another Chakotay adventure, even if Chakotay's an anti-vaxxer now. But yeah, people are mad. Anyway, we've successfully terraformed this. I don't think it looks quite natural. I don't know. Like, I don't know what to do with this bit here. Like, how do we blend this some more? What do you think? Yes, I think to click on the market stall. Well, think about that one a bit more. Oh, I like that idea a lot, actually. I'll make that tarot card. And we get to use bamboo for this. That's fun. Someone said last time, I think it was Zels, that it does look like a market stall. I'm just executing that vision here. I think that works. Like the way this looks too. The one thing I did not figure out is how to connect the stairs. And I think the best solution for that is to take out this window and just make it a thing. Yeah, because that pops out here. And there was a ladder in here. Where was the thing? Oh no, the ladder was on this side. Which to me says you come out here. Yeah, and then you enter like this. Okay, that makes sense. Are people still there in chat, by the way? My, my views are looking a bit weird on this. We're still here. Because if you're not, and I know there's a Viking lore stream right now, so like that's a big draw in my audience. Because Viking Pilot does do those things. Is it also a Pixie stream night? I may have conflicts of interest with everyone. Yeah, because if Viking and Pixie are both streaming right now, it's over for me. Oh, it's stream 16 for Viking. That's fun. That's a Marvel thing. No, Pixie's not live. I don't know if she's up tonight. It could be people are busy. Maybe my Star Trek streams just start to draw. Yeah, whatever. At some point, I will force everyone to sit through the plot of Threshold. That'll be my evil plan. The best bad episode of Star Trek will get its own stream. Maybe I'll read the transcript to be extra evil. Can I do that legally? I don't know. We'll see. Threshold is one of the stupidest episodes of Star Trek out there. It is so bad. I love it. Yes, I think next time plot is Prodigy Part 2. That's why I'm recapping. But yeah, I think this is a good stopping point, honestly. We got this. I will think of something to do for next time. Let me know, by the way, because I have a couple ideas. Could go dig for another parkour map. Could try to pick up Project Run again. Could try some survival for next stream. I don't know. But yeah, this is the project. We've successfully unearthed this village and reconstructed it. I think it came out great, personally. And it proves how awesome 1.20 is. And I've scratched that itch. So, great job there. Good work, team. Glad we have fun in these things. If no one's here, I'm going to call it, though. So, last call for anyone who wants to tell me not to stop stream yet. I'm going to take that as a no. Well, then. It has been wonderful doing this. I have been Joji997. I hope you have enjoyed this special look at 1.20. Well, let's look at the fantastic armor we have here. Really snazzy. Anyway, it has been wonderful doing this with you all. And I will see you all tomorrow for a special bonus stream with our good friend, Lyric Charmlike Clark. Ooh, mystery. Bye-bye.